Hello and welcome to Post to Post, the channel where we discuss all things hockey and all teams. Recently we picked our favorite players from the Atlantic Division from each team, and we've picked our favorite players from the Metro Division from each team. And now we're here to do the Central Division. So if you haven't watched those other two videos, definitely go check those out first and then come back to this one. But my dad has also filmed a couple videos for this one as well. He's going to let us know his favorite players. So let's start off with the Chicago Blackhawks. So who's your favorite player for the Chicago Blackhawks?
You know, this one almost pains me a little bit because there's a lot of guys that have really turned on him over the last while due to, specific things, but it would be Patrick Kane.
Yeah, Patrick Kane.
Just because he's almost a human highlight reel a lot of times, and he's probably one of the best shootout specialists in the league. And when it goes to a shootout and Chicago's involved, you're always going to look to him as being one of the main shooters, and it's always interesting to see what he can create.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the most talented players in the league.
Oh yeah,
let alone in
definitely,
Chicago. So,
definitely.
Yeah. My favorite player is actually Richard Panik, or Panik, I think is the correct pronunciation from his country, which I think is Slovakia. I just like the style of hockey he plays. I think he's very underrated. He flies under the radar in Chicago, much due to the fact of players like Kane, big names like Kane and Taves and Keith and Seabrook. I just think he's very underrated. I like the style of hockey he plays. He's still just a young guy. And yeah, he's my favorite. All right, let's see what Dad has to say about the Chicago Blackhawks and his favorite player.
There's an incredible amount of talent in the Central Division. If I were building a team for next year and could pick anybody from each of those teams, I'd pick the following players. I think with Chicago, Artemi Panarin impressed me the most. As much as I didn't get to watch a lot of the games that Chicago played, I did watch as many as I could. Panarin was almost a point per game. And that's impressive this day and age. We don't have too many players that approach in the high 70s, low 80s, or higher for points. Even the best players in the league don't always consistently perform up there. He had a lot of experience in the KHL before he played the last couple of years over here in North America. I think that did him well. He's still a fairly young player. He's only 25, and he's been very impressive. And Chicago's lucky to have Artemi Panarin, sorry.
All right, moving on to Minnesota. Who's your favorite player from Minnesota?
Suter.
Yeah, Suter. He's my second favorite.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Well, I'm glad we don't have the same ones already, which is nice. But no, I really think he's kind of underappreciated. Well, no, that's actually kind of the wrong word to use. To me, I find that he's not discussed enough as being one of the top true defensemen in the game.
I think that's fair.
I think he's kind of overlooked in a lot of aspects, but I mean, if you look at the minutes that guy logs per game, I mean, it's almost uncomparable to a lot of other franchises. And to me, he's one of the premier defensemen in the league.
I think if you play for a different team, probably a Canadian team, you'd get much more exposure, much more whatever. But my favorite player off Minnesota, if you haven't watched my top 15 favorite players, then you would have already known this. It's Mikko Koivu.
I knew it.
Saku Koivu is my all-time favorite player in the history of the NHL. So when he left the NHL, I transitioned to Mikko Koivu. I started watching him a lot more. They play similar games, so it was, the transition was easy, and it was just easy to like the guy. He's a great leader. He's one of the quiet kind of leaders. And from what I read about him, his teammates like him as well, and everyone around the Minnesota franchise likes him. So yeah, I like Mikko Koivu.
With Minnesota, I like Charlie Coyle. I watched him play last year when I was in Ottawa for work. We managed to get tickets to a Minnesota-Ottawa game. I was down fairly close to the ice level, so I watched the warm-ups and I watched a lot of the things that you wouldn't see on camera. And I thought Coyle played a really, really good game in that game. He impressed me there. I've watched him ever since, and I think he's done fairly well since then. He's got lots of points, 25 penalty minutes, which is, in the mid-range of being a bit of a bruiser, which I think is not always a bad thing. So I like him.
All right, let's transition now to St. Louis. Who's your favorite St. Louis player?
Tarasenko.
Tarasenko, yeah.
Tarasenko, just because he is such a young, up-and-coming guy, and to me, he's almost getting better every year. I think you could see him putting up 50 goals a year before long. He's that good.
What a talent.
Yeah, what a talent. And I mean, St. Louis is lucky to have him in the prime years of his career, and he's only going to get better.
Absolutely.
A lot better.
He's so young, so I mean...
Yeah, he's so exciting to watch.
It's going to be interesting to see St. Louis trend upwards with him in the lineup.
Yeah.
All right, well, my favorite player is Jake Allen. He's currently my favorite player in the league, even though he's not a player. I know he's a goalie, but goalies are included in this list. He's definitely my favorite player in the league right now. He's obviously my favorite player in St. Louis. I'm from Fredericton. We're from Fredericton. He's from Fredericton, so we've got to cheer for that hometown boy. So good job, Jake Allen.
St. Louis, because Jake Allen is from Fredericton, New Brunswick, which is kind of the center of operations for our family, I've always watched Jake since he's been in the pros, and I wish him well all the time. So I'll always want to cheer for Jake Allen if he's playing that day for St. Louis and if they're not playing my team, which is the Montreal Canadiens. But another player that's really impressed me this year was Colton Parayko. He played very well in the playoffs, very solid on defense, and he also went over to Europe for the IIHF games that they played, and he played very, very well for Team Canada over there as well. So I really liked him, and I think he's going to be a good, rock-solid guy for St. Louis in the future. I'd like to have him if I was building a team.
All right, next up is Nashville. Who's your favorite player in Nashville?
Ellis.
Yeah, Ellis. I think a lot of people like Ellis. He's he's weird. He's got that beard. He's short, but he's talented as well. So
yeah, he's a very down to earth personality, and I really became more of a fan of Ellis just after this Stanley Cup final and seeing what he was bringing to the game night in, night out. Great stuff from Ellis at all times.
Yeah, great pick. No complaints there. For me, it's Philip Forsberg. He was a rookie a couple of years ago, and since then he's had tremendous success over the seasons. And watching him play is so exciting. He's in my top 15 favorite players in the National Hockey League. So a big shout out to Philip Forsberg there.
The Nashville Predators, it goes without saying, PK Subban would be my pick. I've watched him since the time he was drafted. He's got a fantastic personality. When he played with Montreal, he became the darling of the entire city, and he paid that respect and love back to the city by doing philanthropic things like the amazing donations he's collected and given to the hospital there. I saw his very first game in the Bell Center when he came in as a fill-in in February several years ago in a home-and-home series against Philadelphia. The crowd went crazy for PK Subban. He just is one of these guys that just lights the place up when he's around. So Nashville's very lucky to have him. I'm not angry about the trade between him and Weber. I think it worked out fairly well. And I don't think Nashville is in the finals this time just because of PK Subban. I think Nashville's in the finals because they have a fantastic team, and I think they'd still be where they are even if they had Weber instead of Subban. So I don't think the trade ruined Montreal's chances and made Nashville's season to get them into the Stanley Cup Finals. But that said, just as a person and as an energetic hockey player, I'd like to have him on my team.
Moving on to Winnipeg, which I think is your second favorite team in the National Hockey League, maybe?
Big time.
Yeah, second favorite. You're a closet Winnipeg Jets fan.
I'm a big Jets fan,
yes.
I am.
So who's your favorite player off the Jets?
Blake Wheeler.
Me too. That's yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice. There's my catchphrase. Nice.
Kudos.
Yeah, Blake Wheeler. I love everything that Wheeler brings to the game. To me, he's a two-way player, and he doesn't get enough credit for his two-way capabilities in the game. Love everything about Blake Wheeler.
Yeah, if you look at his points over the past in his career, I mean, when he used to play for Boston, I'm not a big Boston fan, as many of you probably know, but I was a Wheeler fan when he played for Boston. I followed him to Winnipeg, where he is now. He's very consistent. His point production per season is extremely consistent, and I think he's a very underrated, one of the most underrated players in the league. So.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Lots of talent there too. They're very much like Toronto in the context of how many young, fabulous players they have. There's Laine, there's Ehlers, there's others. I like Ehlers the best, I think. He and Laine had roughly similar numbers, but I think Ehlers had a better attitude and maybe more respectful for the game than Laine was, less of a hot dog. So I like Ehlers for Winnipeg. He would be my pick.
All right, moving on to Dallas.
Dallas, it's a toss-up between Jamie Benn or Tyler Seguin, and I ultimately went with Jamie Benn, just because I think Jamie Benn has a little bit more leadership qualities, and I mean, hey, it shows, right, a lot of times. And after he had his breakout year just the other year and winning there at Ross, his stock really went up with me because he was showing sides of his game that I didn't even think was possible from him. And to me, even though his age, he's still getting better, I find.
Yeah, he's 27. I mean, he's
just developing more.
He's my favorite player off Dallas too. So we're 2 for 2, I guess.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, he's such a unique player because he plays a big. He's only 6 foot. I thought he was bigger than that, but he plays a bigger game than that. He'll fight. He'll score. He'll set up plays. He's a great leader, and it's always nice to see guys have fun on the ice. And Jamie Benn's one of those guys. You can, he's smiling all the time. You can tell he loves the game, and he's having fun doing it.
He's heart and soul all the way.
Absolutely.
Dallas, I think I'd have to go with Jamie Benn. He's been with the team a long time. He's 27 years old, so he still has lots of good years left, and he puts up some very decent numbers. And he's a rugged guy, and plays very good hockey.
All right, last on the list is Colorado. Who's your favorite player from Colorado?
Matt Duchene.
Matt Duchene, yeah.
I honestly think, you look at this year, well, no one really had a good year in Colorado, but Matt Duchene to me is kind of a guy who's hiding in the shadows and ready to break out, whether that's with Colorado this season coming up or somewhere else, because I really think Duchene has a lot more to offer than what we've seen this past season. And to me, he's a real offensive powerhouse.
Yeah, I'm okay with that pick. He had a great success with Canada a couple years ago in the Olympics.
Yeah.
Great choice. Mine's Nathan MacKinnon, again, one of my top 15 favorite players in the National Hockey League. I like everything he does. He's a Nova Scotian boy, so he's close to home here. And yeah, he's my favorite player of Colorado.
Colorado, I think the only pick there is Nathan MacKinnon. There's lots of talk about Matt Duchene being available. I think he's kind of on the back edge of productivity. Nathan MacKinnon is still a rising star. Nova Scotia boy, got to follow him.
So that wraps it up. You've heard from myself, you've heard from my father, and you've heard from Justin, all of our favorite players from the Central Division. We hope you liked this video. If you did, hit the like button. Otherwise, leave your comments down below of your favorite players from each of the teams in the Central Division. We definitely want to know. If you're new to this channel, I hope you hit the subscribe button and join us here. And otherwise, we'll see you in a future video. Adios.